This is McGuire on Wrestling.
Hello, welcome to a special Friday bonus pod. I'm Mike McGuire, and it's a big Friday, perhaps, once again in the world of wrestling, once again in the city of Chicago. The rumors are swirling like mad. There was allegedly an accidental tweet done by WWE Shop. And of course, the speculation has been running rampant. Will AJ Lee be showing up on SmackDown tonight in Chicago? Will CM Punk be there? Will Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch be there? Seems a little odd since, they're all Raw talents, but it is Chi-Town, and things have been known to happen around the Brooks family between one Phil and April, a.k.a. CM Punk and AJ Lee. So who knows? Who knows what will happen? AJ has been retired for a long time. She did some stuff with her Women of Wrestling promotion she was involved with. But other than that, there hasn't been a lot of activity at all from her in the wrestling world. She's been focusing a lot on her books, a lot on her public speaking, and stuff like that. And great for her. Great for her. But she's never said she was done. Never. And I don't think anybody in wrestling ever does really be done until they're done. Until their body literally can't do it anymore. So, the question remains, after what we saw on Raw on Monday, following Clash in Paris, is AJ Lee going to make her return tonight? Now, if you're looking at all the dirt sheets and the websites and everything else, they're saying yes. They're saying, oh yeah, it's going to happen. There's a report that they've actually had more tickets go out for the Chicago show for a chance to see AJ Lee possibly make her return tonight. So we'll see what happens. Allstate Arena, Rosemont, Illinois. That's a famous place. I was there for Hell in a Cell. Of course, we all know about All In. And that was where Punk made his return to WWE even. There's a lot of history in that building. A lot of history in that particular building for pro wrestling in general. So it would seem fitting if AJ Lee shows up there tonight. We'll see what happens there. We'll see what happens. Speaking of Clash in Paris, we are going to cap off this bonus pod with some yay boos here in just a few minutes. But I really wanted to dive into the AJ Lee situation here because it's kind of fascinating. AJ Lee, to a slightly lesser extent, is one of those people that we've been waiting to hear from again ever since she left. And she's been quiet when it comes to anything having to do with wrestling at all. Of course, some of the most interesting promos have come from AJ over the years, especially during the, quote, Divas era. But as far as actual wrestling, as far as actual campaigns or anything like that, we haven't seen anything. Her last match was in Raw in 2015. AJ Lee, Naomi, and Paige got the win over Natalya and the Bella Twins. Coincidentally enough, AJ could be back in WWE. Naomi back in WWE. Paige, nowhere to be found right now. Taking some time from wrestling, she says. But Natalya and Nikki Bella, they've been working together. They've talked about it with Nikki's return to wrestling. So there is some room to do something there, but that's further down the road. Okay, right now we've got Becky Lynch slapping the beep out of Punk on Monday repeatedly. What you gonna do about it? What you gonna do about it? Nothing. Driving her head into the chest. Like it was the most ridiculous fighter scene you see. And speaking of ridiculous fights, Tyson and Mayweather? No, we'll talk about that on the Sunday show. But it was one of the most ridiculous, fun to watch segments. And I saw a quote from Kevin Nash on his podcast before this all happened and saying that, maybe the business has passed Becky Lynch by. I think she answered that statement to a fairly significant degree. Fairly significant. So is this match going to happen? Is it going to be mixed tag WrestlePalooza CM Punk and AJ Lee against Seth freaking Rollins and the man Becky Lynch. It's too perfect not to be. Now, are they going to try and fake us out? And are they going to throw Rhea in there? Because we saw Punk and Rhea talking to each other. Maybe Rhea comes out. Maybe Rhea's implied. But then all of a sudden, let's light it up. I'm not even going to try and sing along, okay? But you know what I'm talking about here. AJ Lee, tonight on SmackDown. Will it or won't it happen? We will find out. We're going to get to your yay boo from Clash in Paris here, as promised, in just a minute. Of course, tomorrow, the alternate commentary table with Mitch and Dimitri will be posting. They'll have their thoughts on whatever happens tonight on SmackDown, I'm sure. If you haven't checked out this week's Legends and Champions with Andy Evans and Stephen Bennett, highly recommend that. They're looking back at SummerSlam 2005 with old HB Shizzle and Hulk Hizzle and the selling of a lifetime. But let's get to another PLE that just happened, and that is, of course, the Clash in Paris. You guys offered some feedback. I wanted to do it, so let's do it right.
Yay, boo, it's lots of fun to do. If you like it, holla yay. If you don't, you holla boo.
After every PLE and pay-per-view, major show in North America here, we like to do a little yay boo, and you guys came through once again with some great feedback on the Clash in Paris. So let's start off with your comments. First of all, this show was just last Saturday. Like, it hasn't even been a week technically, and it already feels like it was 100 years ago with what's even just happened on Raw since then, right? Like, so much stuff is progressing here. We're going to start off here with thoughts from our own Joe Aguinaldo. He says he gives the show a yay for what it was, but it was longer than it needed to be. Yeah, this was a longer show for WWE. And I'm not sure what the strategy was there. You know, usually they've been keeping it pretty tight, but this one went, 4 hours? 4 hours and change? But the first hour of that was all Roman. So, yeah, the whole Roman attack angle was a lot of real estate in that show. Blaine Vandergreen says, gotta go, yeah. I wasn't crazy about the build, but the show exceeded my expectations and turned out to be a pleasant surprise. Logan versus Cena added much more marquee value to an otherwise average card, and that match was excellent, though a bit long. Yeah, but again, it's Cena. Let him go as long as he wants. The rest of the talent worked very hard as well, including Nikki Bella, who I'm not particularly fond of in or out of the ring, but got to give credit where it's due. The real stars were the fans, though. They really brought the show to life. Yeah, the France crowd did what they do. I don't know that they were as rowdy on the Saturday as they were even on Monday for Raw. They really got over on Finn Balor. Like, wow, were they loving him. Sean Burkhead gave it an overall yay, looking forward to Breakker versus Roman. It was a glorified house show. We could have done without Sheamus versus Rusev match. I don't know. The crowd seemed to love Post Malone and Jelly Roll were like bro embracing after Sheamus put Rusev through the tables on the outside. If you go back and watch just that clip, you see Post Malone and Jelly Roll specifically. Post Malone's like doing that thing where it's like you grab your buddy and you shake him like, I can't believe how cool this is. And Jelly's like, yeah, it's cool. He's probably still hurting from his match against Logan Paul. Anyway, Sean continues. So are we closer to AJ Lee coming back for a mixed tag match? That's what I'm pondering after the show. The Peacock era of WWE has gone out with a whimper. For an overall yay, that seemed a little bit of booey. I don't know. That's just me. Eric Benson breaks the rules here. Says it was mid, so mid is a boo. Sorry. We always round to the negative. Predictable outcomes was slightly better than average wrestling, but lots of, quote, cinema. All right. Fair enough. There was a lot of drama, yeah, especially, again, going back to the Roman thing. That just went on and on and on and on and on and on and on. Chris Hodnott says, overall a yay. The show did not feel special or like a big PLE. The exception to my comment was the nice set design, and the crowd was hot and into it the entire show. Yeah, that little addition of the Eiffel Tower lighting setup, that was great. And the effects they had on that thing, like when the Wyatt Six came out and it turned all into fireflies, and I don't know, it just looked pretty awesome. So there you go. Anyway, Chris goes on to say that Logan Paul and John Cena was a tremendous match. The Becky Lynch Nikki Bella match felt off. Not sure why it did not gel. Yeah, I mentioned that during the show. on the discussion thread on our Celebrate Wrestling Facebook page. The timing just wasn't there. It seemed to be a little shaky, a little janky in some spots. But again, if you're going to have your first big match back on a PLE, it's going to be more amplified. The expectations are going to be a little higher. Devin Axman says, I got to say boo. Did the time change throw them off and they booked a Raw? To me, a show needs to earn a yay, and this didn't. It seemed like a long episode of Raw with a hot crowd and a great Cena-Logan Paul match. The Roman match was good, but could have cut 5 minutes off the angle that took forever. Yes. Tag match was boring. The 6 do nothing for me. Less said about Nikki Bella, the better. Wow. The Donnybrook was great, I thought. I loved Logan and Cena, with John really pulling out the stops. Hanger does a better buckshot lariat, though. Well, sure. The main event was good, but you're just waiting for the run-in. I wish WWE, to a lesser extent AEW, would cut that out. AJ and Punk versus Seth and Becky should be fun, though. Yeah, another person there expecting AJ Lee. So will it happen tonight? Will it happen on Raw? Either way, we'll find out. Remember, SmackDown, everywhere else, is on Netflix, but in the States, it's still on network TV. So it would make sense. Well, cable network TV, but the reach is still there, is what I'm saying. So to have AJ show up with Punk tonight may happen, may not. Either way, we'll be talking all about it this weekend. Lots happening. Of course, we'll talk all about the AEW time shift for All Out. I'm curious if anybody going to that show, if that's changed your plans at all. Because now we're going to have All Out, and then that's going to run into WrestlePalooza. So it'll be an interesting day. Interesting day on September the 20th. I also have a show that I'm booked for that day. So I'll actually be watching both in the middle of the night. Yay. Or boo. We'll see. Also, full-blown show coming to you Sunday. Alternate commentary table tomorrow. Thanks for listening to this quick little recap of the Yay Boo. And leave your thoughts in the comments here as to whether or not you think AJ makes her return tonight on SmackDown. Until next time, thanks for listening. Let me do what I do. Play safe, drive safe. Be seen ya.
McGuire on Wrestling, part of the Celebrate Wrestling Podcast Network. Online and on the radio. Listen to the show Mondays at 4 p.m. Mountain Time at CKXU.com, wherever you get your podcasts, and at CelebrateWrestling.com.